Hey everybody, welcome to Hangin' Sangin'. I'm Kelly McCartney from the Bluegrass Situation. With me today at Hillbilly Central, Ron Pope.
I'm here.
You are here.
I'm here.
I'm so glad you're here.
I thumbs it up because we're not just on the radio. We're
Yeah.
in the internet there.
There are people watching.
Yeah, there are
us.
some people that can see us. So
Yeah.
because I'm always air quoting or thumbs upping or something on the radio, and then I feel wrong about it, and then I have to say,
Don't ever feel wrong about it.
I want to let people know that the reason I'm thumbs upping is because I know they can see me.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have some Sicilian or Italian in you?
I do.
So, of course.
A lot of hand gestures.
A lot of hand gestures. I'm with you on it. Your new record, Work, coming out August 18th. It's so good.
Oh, thank you.
And seriously, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But the more I've dug into it, there's a lot going on in this thing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it's only one, you're so prolific too. This is like your 13th release in 10 years or something really ridiculous.
Well, I don't really have any hobbies.
I was going to say, do you have any hobbies?
It's
written on my paper.
Oh, wow. All the things that I really loved to do became part of my job, luckily. Yeah. And so when I'm sitting in my house, learning Robin Ford licks, staring at the wall, that's part of my job now. It's rad. Yeah. And so, I started making records in college, and I was in a band, and then I started making some little acoustic recordings in my bedroom, and then I was still doing my band, and then the solo project thing, which I never intended to be a solo artist. I was always a band guy.
Right.
So the solo project starts going crazy, and people start eating up these demos I was making in my house, and so before I knew it, I was in a band and a solo artist and just kept making records. It's like a tick at this point. I don't really know how to stop it. So.
It's like musical Tourette's. You just
some kind of ailment, yes.
Yeah.
But
all right.
I do my best.
And you have we got into this pretty deeply before we started, but you have your own label now. Mm-hmm. And after kind of all that you have been through with the band and the this and that, it must feel pretty good, even though in this new era, there are some pros and cons to it. There's a lot of noise to cut through, a lot of mediocrity out there that you have to cut through. So,
the democratization of the distribution and recording process has done a lot of really cool things. There used to be the haves and the have-nots in the recording industry. There were people in bars playing for 4 people, making demos, writing songs, trying to get discovered and trying to get access. And those, the have-nots. And then there were people in a band that was on a major label that could get in a studio, they could hire Glyn Johns, they could spend a bunch of money to promote it, they had global distribution through a major. And
then along came GarageBand.
Yeah, and at this point we're kind of part of this new emerging middle class in in recorded music, where we can make records on our own, and it's kind of like I said, like the farm to table movement of recorded music, where we get money from the fans, by selling records and having my music consumed, and then we use that money to make more music or to promote my music. My wife really runs the label. I mean, I kind of. It's like my wife has a label, I kind of work there, sort of.
Okay.
And so she was my manager, or she is my manager, but she was my manager before, and then kind of we transitioned from all the things that we do, me producing records and writing songs and making my own music and her being a manager, to we were like, oh, I guess we're kind of running a record label. And then we made it a record label.
Make it official,
started hiring people, and, over the last number of years, we moved, it's called Brooklyn Basement Records, but because we started it in a basement in Brooklyn. And then we moved down here, and so now we're in East Nashville, and we have 3 employees here, and, it's grown, but for us, it's all about, is it something that we can control so that we know that it's gonna do the right thing, it's gonna be good, because at this point, in music, there isn't really any tangible value of having a stamp on your rear end that says property of XYZ Records, or XYZ booking agent or manager or whatever. I picked my booking agent because he was enthusiastic about what I was doing. He really loved me, and it's paid dividends picking somebody who cared about my project and waiting until we found somebody that really got it and was stoked about it. And so we're really conscious of that. It's like when we're looking for partners that get it and want to add value, because that's really at this point the only thing that matters. It's like, how can we access more people? How can we satisfy the people that are already consuming my music? And everything else is it's like kind of superfluous, you know. Like
Yeah.
and so I think that's something I always tell people that are trying to get going in music, that ask, you know, what do I do? I'm like, well, just as you add partners, whatever they are, they should be people who really get what you're doing and understand your goals and want to help you move there, because otherwise it's just another unnecessary opinion, like one more cook in your kitchen.
Yeah, if not a dead weight at times. I mean, you know, people can make all kinds of promises, but whether or not they can follow through is a whole other thing.
I was signed to a major label for 1 year. And it was kind of like being a teenager. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but I always had to ask for money and permission.
Right.
and so, you know, for me, the only reason I did that was, you know, I was already having a lot of success online and selling a lot of music at that point. And I went in there saying, what I need is access to major media. I said that to, you know, people that I was working with. And we went in there and I said, what can you do for me that I can't do for myself?
Right.
And they said, we can get you access to major media. And I was like, sold, you got me. You said the right thing.
You said the word.
But then they didn't spend any money and they didn't promote my music at all.
Yeah.
And they just collected the money I was already making and kept it.
Yeah.
Which is something that...
They said, hey, you owed us that.
Yeah, something that record labels are good at. And so they were collecting the money that I had been making all along, that I had been collecting myself in my little bedroom in Harlem, you know, like using it to buy burritos and you know, things like that with my friends. So I think that, you know, just in any partnership, it's like if you wanted to open a tire shop and I wanted to open, you know, like a florist, we can't go into business together because our plans don't align.
Right.
So you have to make sure that the people who you're going to work with, they want to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And they have, you know, they're as invested as you are, because you also don't want a business partner who, you know, you're going to show up Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and they're going to show up like Wednesday at 3:30 for like a half hour, but they have golf, so they don't know actually if they'll make it Wednesday.
And then cocktails.
Yeah, it's like, what am I going to do? I have this thing. I'm in Beijing. There's nothing I can do. Like, so you know, I think people sometimes, because we've had so much success independently, they kind of hold us up as like this, you know, they're like these independent, like this is who they are. I'm like, I haven't found a lot of serious people in the music industry that were like interested in doing what we do and working hard at it and helping us build. Like, lots of people are interested in taking my money.
Well,
you know, and any money I generate.
Yeah, you can write me a check after.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you want to be the head of a record label? Come on down. I'll cut you a check. But I think that's, you know, it's an important thing to try to figure out what you want as an artist, and then how you want to get there. And then if anybody that you can find that is helpful, it's going to help you do that, then those are the people to work with. And if you don't find those people, you have to keep learning how to do stuff on your own.
Yeah.
More, you know, I never wanted to be in the music business. I just wanted to be in the music.
Right.
And then I kind of had no choice, because I couldn't find people to help me be in the music business, and I really don't know how to make lattes. So I needed money. Yeah. And so I just, you know, like, I didn't want to produce records, really. I didn't want to be a business person going over contracts. I didn't want to be negotiating things.
Right.
But over the years, I mean, my wife just was helping to manage me, and she just did more and more and more. And then we realized that she was doing all of the work that these music managers, I'm air quoting, these music managers, you know, were supposed to be doing. They weren't doing any of it, and she was doing it all, and we were giving away money.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, for artists, this is hard for me. It's like, to think about the fact that you have to make money if you don't want to have another job and you just want to work on your art and focus on your art. Like, you have to make money from your art. Then your art has to, you know, I talk about this all the time. You have to figure out how art and commerce, where those two roads intersect. You have to live at that intersection.
Yeah.
Make art that you believe in and that you can stand behind, while also making money so that you can make more art, so that you can promote the art you create. Like, that's part of the game. I mean, there's a reason why everybody here is the new Rihanna. You know, because they're spending a lot of money and a lot of expertise to promote those records. Like,
yeah.
You know, I haven't actively listened to Rihanna in a while, but you generally know what's going on with her because it pops up. You're walking through a Rite Aid and you're like, oh, I guess there's a new Rihanna. Look at that.
Look at that. Well, the art that you do make, the thing that you are good at, is writing a damn song.
Oh, thank you.
And on this record, your songs sort of, they look backward, they look forward, they kind of sit here in this moment. Now, how does it feel to do, through crafting a song, to sort of revisit moments in your life you know, when you were younger and that kind of thing, does it give you gratitude for who you become? Does it give you pause for who you were? How's it feel?
You know, for me, songwriting has always been a part of how I process the world. I mean, I started to write songs when I was 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
Bad songs, like,
Well,
you know, because
you were 12.
as you do.
Yeah.
And I spent a long time doing that. You know, I wrote hundreds and hundreds of songs that were horrible, like really horrible, like through my teens, and but I needed them. You know, I needed those songs, and I think that now I wanted to, at this point in my life, be a little less opaque, maybe than I've been in the last couple of albums. You know, 2 albums ago, I was like in the midst of some kind of, I don't know, like breakdown or crisis or something, where I was worried that the kinds of songs I was writing, I was writing them because I wasn't able to write any other kind of songs. I felt like I was kind of repeating myself, or I was stuck stylistically. So I challenged myself to the farthest reaches that, you know, the farthest I could go. I wrote songs with tempo changes and key changes and orchestras, and there were like 8 guys sitting in a room with synthesizers and choirs, and and it just went on forever and ever, and it was months, and it was so much money and time, and but I wanted, you know, I challenged myself to try to write music that was so far removed from anything that I had ever done, and so challenging to me that I wouldn't question that ever again. So I did that, made that record, and I loved it. It was really good, and I'm really proud of it. And then I finished it, and I kind of went, you know, wiped my hands, and I said, I never have to do that again. And that, you know, and that felt good. And so since then, you know, I've been working my way towards going back to making music that reflects my influences and what I grew up doing, while not falling into some kind of trying to be some kind of caricature of something, or some kind of, you know, bad facsimile of something. You know, like I don't want to make another Tom Petty record.
Super derivative.
Yeah, I don't want to make a Tom Petty record. I don't want to make a Stones record. I don't want to make a, you know, an Otis Redding record. I don't want to make a Wilson Pickett record. Whatever. I want you to feel some of the spirit of those things in there. Like when you hear me play slide guitar, I hope you don't go, "That's a Dwayne Allman lick,"
right?
Because I put them in there, and I hope I don't regurgitate them when I'm playing on my own records. Or
they're in there, but they're filtering through the Ron Pope.
Yeah,
you know.
When I heard an interview where Blake Mills talked about, you know, like sitting in his room growing up and, you know, copying a bunch of Dwayne, and I was like, you know, because his side playing is so interesting and original, his vocabulary is so unique, you would never imagine him like learning anyone else's parts.
Right.
But, you know, obviously he did. And you know, for me, it's like, that's what I've been really focusing on, is like, how do I take all of my influences, allow them to be reflected in the things that I'm creating, and not make something, that feels incredibly derivative of something else. And so the last album was a step in that direction. I wrote these songs that felt very honest and to me, and, you know, were telling stories from my life, but maybe they were still just a little more opaque.
Right.
And this record, you know, I was laying in bed one night and I couldn't sleep, and I started to think about all the things you're not supposed to think about when you can't sleep. Like, time is passing, and one day I will die, and all the people I love will die. And, you know, all the worst stuff, all the things that can keep you up at night. They were keeping me up that night. So
you had to write some songs about it.
Well, I started thinking about my grandfather. My grandfather is an interesting character, and he's done a really great job of enjoying his life. He and my grandmother, one day in the middle of winter, he was 54 years old, and he was like, "I'm done with the winter. We're going to Florida. Goodbye." And that was it. And then he went to Florida, and that was it. You know, and he's just, you know, he always says, you know, enjoy your life, like, be smart, be careful, save money when you can, be a responsible person.
Okay.
But if you can go out and travel, if you can, whatever brings you joy, go do that thing, because you only have so much time, and you can't be buried with your money, and it's important to have experiences, and you know, so go out and, you know, take a bite out of the world and enjoy yourself. And so I was laying there and I was thinking, you know, like, I'm fretting about all these things that I can't control. And I was thinking, you know, I'm like thinking about dying. I was like, you know, someday we're gonna die. We're all gonna die, exactly. But oh man, like like hopefully not today, you know, and then like we'll die one day, but like every other day we're not going to die. And I was like, that's an idea for a
There's
song.
Something. Yeah.
And so I got up, you know, and so that was, you know, an example of something where, you know, the song "Someday We're All Gonna Die." I woke up in the middle of the night, I'd been awake all night, but I left my bed in the middle of the night and I quietly snuck out and I sat down and I wrote that song, and it made me feel a lot better. You know, and that's always a, you know, a neat little ancillary benefit of being a songwriter. I'm not great in my real life with my emotions because I'm, you know, I don't know, just not one of those people that access that stuff easily. So for me, writing songs is a way that I can, you know, say some things that I wouldn't normally say, and access that stuff. I think it's funny, like, because I'm a songwriter and sometimes I've written, you know, songs about, you know, love and feelings. People are often saying things to my wife about, you know, oh, like, these things make me think about how relationships are supposed to be. And I just imagine her, like, in her head, like, yeah, you don't have to deal with this guy. Yeah, like, as an actual person, I am not as good, you know, expressing myself as I am in my music. So, yeah, I mean, it sometimes it's hard, I think, to access those things, like, you know, like, the sad things from growing up and the hard parts, you know, like the song "Work," you know, I woke up because I was another, you know, late night and I couldn't sleep, and I was laying there and I was thinking about putting my guitar in a specific alternate tuning, and I was imagining some things I could change in the tuning. So I got up and I started messing around with it, and I was just thinking about growing up and like kind of all these things flooded back. I really did have a teacher
who said you were going to go to prison.
Who said I was going to go to prison. My mother went in to meet with this lady, and this teacher hated me. It was really, you know, kids are like, oh, the teacher hates me, and parents are like, your teacher doesn't hate you. This lady hated me. And so my mother went in. I'd had some kind of you know, disagreement with the teacher. My mother went into the school to meet with her, and I was 12 or 13, and so the lady said to my mother that I shouldn't go to high school, that she should find a trade school for me, send me to trade school. She said she felt like the academic rigors of high school would be too intense for me. I wouldn't make it, and all the boys that ever came through her class that were like me ended up in prison, and the only way to save me was to find, you know, something for me to do that would make it so, you know, my hands weren't idle. Okay. And my mother, like, was very, very calm and very collected.
She didn't curse on the radio.
She didn't curse on the radio. Exactly. But she stood up.
Okay.
And she expressed to this woman without cursing on the radio how she felt about this, and then she said that I would go to high school and I would go to college and I would achieve something great, and my mother would be sure that she knew about it.
Right.
And so every time that I have done anything in my life,
it gets sent to
that. No, I'm like, Mom, you can't send this lady. Like, when I graduated from college, my mom was like, let's just photocopy the diploma. Let's just photocopy the diploma, and we'll just find out where she lives. I'm like, you're not finding out where this lady lives,
no.
Mom.
I'm on your mom's side with this, I gotta say.
This is like, you know, when I graduated college, it was like 10 years after this. I was like,
doesn't matter.
Mom, we gotta let this go.
No.
We've got to let this go. But the first time we played a big show in America that we were headlining, my mom was like, what if I just shot some like little video clips? I was like, stop it. You stop.
Just send her some tickets.
Yeah. So it's been, you know, like, that was something that, you know, it's that period from being, you know, 12 years old and, you know, kind of being a mixed up kid and getting in a lot of trouble to, you know, leaving home and becoming a professional musician. The space between there was filled with a lot of doubt and fear. You know, being a very different kid growing up in any suburb anywhere, you know, I think sometimes can be hard. And I wanted to sit in my room and write poems and stuff like that. And I wanted to, like, listen to all different sorts of music, like, not just what was on the radio. And I think, you know, so it was just you know, a lot of uncertainty in that time. So accessing that, and like when I was working on a loading dock and thinking, like, man, if my teachers don't believe in me, like, is this really, like, am I gonna have to work really hard until, like, my back and my arms don't work anymore, and then, like, I'm just gonna be used up? Like, what's gonna happen to me?
Yeah.
And deciding that, even though, like, I didn't think, you know, I was the smartest kid or I was, you know, the most equipped really to do anything, I was like, I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to figure out how to be good at something that I think is meaningful, and so that maybe the world won't chew me up and spit me out. Yeah. And it's been kind of one of the driving forces in my life that took me, when I was signed to a major, I got an out clause and a reversion of master's clause in my recording contract, which is like sort of unheard of.
Yeah.
And so when we got to a point where I realized they weren't helping me, I was like, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Like, I'm going to make a way for myself in the world because you're going to try to starve me. And my job is I got to figure out how to feed me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out and eat.
Yeah.
And that's work is really about that. It's about the path that I took from being 12 years old to being 30 years old, where, I went and I did it. I did all those things that I hoped that I would do. And so, my aunt was in a place getting her nails done yesterday, and one of my songs came on, in the beauty parlor or whatever you call it. And my stepdad said, another half. They group texted the family. My stepdad said, that's another half cent. I was like, hey man, I bought my house with those half cents.
Yeah, right.
Stack a bunch of them up,
Yeah, there you go.
So it's some of it's like therapy, and some of it's some of it's fun to go back to. Like bad for your health. Like I really had the worst spring break ever. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Worst spring break ever.
Yeah. What are you tuned up to do? Are you tuned to do work?
I'm going to play work, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's see. Ron Pope. Proving his 7th grade teacher wrong.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Carhartt jacket on, 5:30 a.m., feeling like the ace of spades. 15 years old, work till the sun comes, then I'm off to school again. Working my back as a young man taught me I'd rather work my mind. So we'd cop a little smoke and crack a couple jokes, just trying to learn to survive. I wanted to work to live, no, not just live to work. I had a pain deep in my bones beneath my t-shirt. Was a young man singing an old man's song, paying with my last dimes. But working to live beats living to work anytime. I had a teacher, she told my mother that she'd better find me a trade. Because boys like me, well, we all grow up to be long-term guests of the state. And I worked hard because I had to. I never found much luck till I built my world round a Georgia girl who told me that I was enough. I wanted to work to live, no, not just live to work. I had a pain deep in my bones beneath my t-shirt. Was a young man singing an old man's song, paying with my last dimes. But working to live beats living to work anytime. Sometimes at night I awake with a shiver, sweat soaking clean through my sheets. But then I remember I am who I am, not who they said I would be. And I wasn't born with nothing except a voice and common sense. Maybe that's why I took off running the first chance that I had. I wanted to work to live, no, not just live to work. I had a pain deep in my bones beneath my t-shirt. Was a young man singing an old man's song, paying with my last dimes. But working to live beats living to work anytime. Oh, working to live beats living to work anytime.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
Ron Pope. Work, title track off the new record. He's going to retune now.
I am, that's true.
And we're going to do the enlightening round while you do that.
All right, let's give it a shot and see how we do.
Okay, I'm going to ask you questions.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you questions based on your song titles.
On my song titles?
Yes.
Okay, let's get. I could probably do that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I know those.
Yeah. What makes you feel helpless?
Oh wow, goodness gracious. What makes me feel helpless? That's a Neil Young song that I covered.
I know.
So I'm thinking. I'm like, where does that come from? I see what we're doing here.
Yeah.
You know, I would say there is very little that makes me feel helpless anymore in my personal life. I worry about the world sometimes. You know, like what might happen. So that kind of stuff is scary. I guess the idea, like that people can hurt you out there, and there's people that want to hurt you for no reason. That's scary.
That is scary. What's the worst heartfelt lie you ever told?
Oh man, gosh, whew, that's a hard question, man. You said these were easy questions.
No,
I mean, I would say, I never said I love you and not meant it, and that's people do that.
People do
and
that.
That's I'd say that's the worst one you can do.
Yeah.
As far as my own, no comment.
Okay, that's fair. What's the best kind of hunger?
The best kind of hunger is when you want somebody really bad and you think you might get them. That's what that's about.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
What makes a dancing day?
Well, if you get
that person you wanted, then
if you're in a position to go out and get loose and you're not scared, that's what it's all about. Not being afraid to go out and get a little loose, even though maybe I'm not not able to recover as quickly as I used to from getting loose.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Fill in the blank. Only God knows. Blank.
Man, I thought that these were. By the way, I thought these were going to be so easy based on the way that you presented this round to me, and they're actually very challenging. So
they're enlightening.
They're enlightening. They are
Yes.
enlightening. Okay.
Yes.
Only God knows, man.
I apologize for any misrepresentation I may have
No.
I'm
enjoying it. I just,
Okay.
I expected some really lightweight ones.
Like,
And
what's your favorite color?
Maybe my titles are too
They're too
challenging.
They're profound.
I would never use the word profound to describe anything that has touched me, but I appreciate that. That is very kind of you.
Yeah.
Only God knows the day you're gonna die.
Ooh. And we're all gonna die someday.
Someday we're all gonna die. Badoom cha. We made it.
See, we tied it all together. Yeah. Okay, second song.
Okay, I'm just gonna one more time just make sure, because
care.
my guitar hates this tuning, and it's 50 years old. It's not fair to this guitar that I do this to it, but I like it so much, so I can't help it.
Musical cruelty. There's gonna be a petition now to stop you from.
So this is called Stick Around.
Okay.
This is the last track on the album. We got to the last day of making the record, and I really liked this song. We just hadn't gotten to it yet. Yeah. And Ted Young, who's my engineer, is my good friend. He was like, just go sit down in front of the microphones and let's record it and see how it sounds, and just so we have a record of it, you know. And when I played it, and then we listened back, and we were like, well, that's the recording, I guess. Let's put that on the record.
Ding.
So it sounds much like this on the record.
Okay, awesome.
Well, I wanna kiss you till your suntan ends and the snow falls hard. I wanna come to you if I get out of jail. I wanna drink with all your cousins even though they are insane. Wanna call them up and ask them to post bail. If we got everything we want, we just want something else. If we found out this house was haunted, well, we're not moving now. And if I sound just like my father, well, you figured me out. And if that's alright with you, baby, I will stick around. I wanna treat you in the way I wish that you would treat yourself. I wanna sink my teeth into all your desires. I wanna scream and fight and love all night, then wake up with a smile. I wanna touch you 'cause you're soft, but you are wild. If we got everything we wanted, we just want something else. If we found out this house was haunted, well, we're not moving now. And if I sound just like my father, well, you figured me out. And if that's alright with you, baby, I will stick around. I wanna show you everything that I've been keeping to myself. I wanna let you see the ugly parts I hide. I wanna carry you when you are scared to take another step. I wanna sleep beside you like a peaceful child. If we got everything we wanted, we just want something else. If we found out this house was haunted, well, we're not moving now. And if I sound just like my father, well, you figured me out. And if that's alright with you, baby, I will stick around. And if that's alright with you, baby, I will stick around.
Ron Pope with Stick Around off the new album Work, out August 18th.
Which is next Friday. I'm very excited.
Yay.
Finally.
Finally. It's so good.
Thank you so much.
It's full of clarity. You know, a lot of records are full of questions and searching, and this one feels to me there's a lot of clarity and wisdom on it.
Oh, well,
So,
again, not something I would ever think about myself, so I appreciate you saying it about
Hey.
me. Thank you.
feel free, you can pull quote me on that.
You know, I would imagine my grandmother called in and told you to say that before we started. And
No.
just so
No.
Nobody bribed you or anything,
Nobody
huh?
bribed me or anything.
You're not getting cookies later for that?
No, I did say I would accept a check after, but, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we'll work on that.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
Yes. Next week we have Johnny P, and then on August 25th, Charlie Worsham, and September 8th, Yola Carter, and then all kind of stuff during Americana Fest. We'll save that.
Good music.
Announcement. Yeah.
Good music.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here. I had a wonderful time.
Super pleasure. Over and out from Hillbilly Central.
Thanks, y'all.